Discover 13 incredible used trucks that last 800,000 miles. Hidden life-changing deals revealed. Jack couldn't believe his eyes as he scrolled through the local classifieds, his heart racing with each desperate hope that flickered like an ember in a storm. These trucks, sitting dusty on some forgotten lot, promised more than just transportation. They were vessels of dreams, carrying the weight of resilience, hard work, and family ties. In a town like Maplewood, where the dust from worn roads mingled with the dreams of its humble residents, this felt like a lifeline tossed his way. At T45, Jack's hands had seen more than their fair share of toil. They were scarred, roughened from years of honest work at his late father's repair shop, a place that once pulsed with laughter and camaraderie. But since losing his job at the factory, Jack had found himself adrift. Bills piled up like the old tires collecting dust in his workshop. Sitting there, he could almost hear his father's voice echoing through the years, telling him to keep pushing, to keep believing. The memories were bittersweet. They reminded him of his purpose, yes, but also of the struggle they faced as a family. "It's just not working anymore," Jack, his wife, Linda, had said last night, her voice heavy with concern. They had exchanged worried glances long into the night, both aware that Ethan was feeling the tension, too. Jack, with his heart already tight in his chest, took a deep breath. Those trucks were more than metal and wheels. They were a chance for hope, a shot at pulling them back together. As Jack wrestled with their financial reality, Ethan found a spark of ingenuity. He discovered an unexpected talent for social media. "Dad, what if we promote the trucks online?" he suggested one evening, his youthful energy colliding with Jack's weary soul. Together, they dove into hashtags, snippets of creativity, and the buzz of online engagement. It felt good, it felt right. They were sinking, two generations facing challenges, finding light amongst the shadows. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But hope came with a price. Fred, the local businessman, a man with sharp words and sharper eyes, had always looked down on Jack. Watching the father and son thrive ignited a flame of jealousy in him. One night, under the fading sunset, Fred confronted Jack in the town square. "You think you can just come back from nothing? Prove your worth, Jack." The challenge felt like a slap, sharp enough to make the townsfolk murmur, eyes darting between them like the crackle of lightning before a storm. Jack stood there, fists clenched, grappling with his pride and the love for his family. The weight of his choices hung in the air: revenge or forgiveness, anger or dignity. The crowd watched, hearts racing as they held their breaths, wondering, would Jack's heart remain steadfast against the tide of judgment? Would he let the venom of rivalry cloud the legacy his father had left him? In a moment delicate as glass, he stood at a crossroads, defining the man he would choose to be. As the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery orange and deep purple, Jack felt a swell of emotions crashing inside him. He could see the townspeople's faces behind Fred, some with pity, others with eagerness to witness a showdown. Jack cleared his throat, trying to summon the strength he thought he'd lost. "Fred," he began, his voice steady despite the trembling rage within. "I'm not here to prove anything to you. I just want to do right by my family." Each word was infused with years of pain and perseverance, tugging at the heartstrings of those who listened. Jack knew his father would have encouraged him to rise above this. But Fred had his own agenda. "Right by your family?" he scoffed, laughter laced with disdain. "You think these old trucks will lift you out of mediocrity? You're a joke, Jack." A fading memory. With every insult, Jack felt the fire in him igniting, yet he forced himself to take a deep breath. Behind him, Ethan stood, wide-eyed, seeing not merely a confrontation, but a turning point in their story. Jack looked back at his son and saw that spark of determination mirrored in Ethan's gaze. It was time to stop being defined by others' opinions. "Listen, Fred," Jack said, his voice rising slightly. "You may think this is a game, but to me, these trucks represent something deeper: hope, resilience, and family. You can't put a price tag on that. The town's atmosphere crackled as silence fell heavily. Jack's heart raced. This was more than a conversation. It was a fight for dignity, for pride, for the legacy his father had left him. The crowd began to murmur, sensing the shift in the air, emboldened by Jack's words. But Fred, far from backing down, took a step closer, invading Jack's personal space. And what makes you think you're worthy of this second chance? You think people will buy your story? Ethan stepped forward, his youthful spirit shining bright. They'll buy our story, Dad. Yours and mine. We're not just selling trucks, we're selling a future. The confidence in Ethan's voice was a clarion call, cutting through the tension like a hot knife through butter. The crowd seemed to stir, vibrating with a sense of community renewed. Jack felt a surge of gratitude for his son, that burst of hope rejuvenating his weary spirit. You're right, Ethan. We're building something here. The spectators began to nod, some even whispering their support. Jack turned back to Fred, his voice firm. I won't let you make me falter. I was my father's son, and I'm still standing. We all make mistakes, Fred, but that doesn't mean I can't rise again. Fred's face boiled with anger, his bravado cracking under the weight of collective eyes watching him. You think this is over? Keep dreaming, Jack. Jack, resolute, didn't waver. No, it's only just begun. He felt the flicker of hope in his chest like a warm fire, illuminating the dark corners of doubt that lingered too long. With a deep inhale, he turned away from the confrontation, knowing that whatever lay ahead in this fight for their future, he wasn't alone anymore. Ethan was right beside him, a partner in this necessary rebirth. As they walked away from the square, hand in hand, there was another challenge ahead. The doubts of the townsfolk, Fred's looming threats, and the reality of their financial struggles. But this time, hope wasn't simply a specter. It burned fiercely in their hearts. What lay ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, Jack felt a glimmer of excitement. Together, they could flip the script. Yet, as they turned towards home, a thought nagged at Jack's mind: would Fred strike back? And how far would he go to undermine their newfound hope? The thought sent a shiver down his spine. Jack and Ethan walked in silence, the weight of the confrontation still hanging in the air. Jack's heart raced, not from fear, but from the adrenaline of standing up for what mattered. The sun had disappeared, leaving behind a blanket of twilight, cool and refreshing against their skin. Ethan squeezed his hand tighter. Did you see Fred's face? Ethan exclaimed, breaking the silence. When you said you wouldn't back down, it was like you punched him in the gut. Jack chuckled, a sound he didn't know he needed. Yeah, I guess it was. But we can't let his words scare us, Ethan. What we do now is more important than what he thinks. As they approached the small house that had been Jack's family home for years, he felt a flicker of determination. Memories flooded back. The smell of fresh coffee brewing in the morning, the sound of laughter under the old oak tree in the backyard. This place held their history, their dreams. He looked at Ethan, who was now considering his own future more seriously than ever. Dad, Ethan asked, his voice turning serious. What do we do next? Jack paused, considering their options. We need to get those trucks ready for sale. We have to show the town that we're not just trying to survive, we're here to thrive. But we might need some help to pull this off. Like what? Ethan said, his eyes lighting up with curiosity. We could bring in the community, Jack replied. Maybe hold a workshop, show people how we fix them up, help them understand the value in what these trucks can really offer. It's about unity. Ethan nodded, enthusiasm creeping back into his expression. And maybe we could do a little marketing? Share our story? Everyone loves a comeback story. Jack felt a swell of pride. His son was growing into a man, filled with ideas and passion. Exactly, he said, his voice firm. We'll connect with those who believe in us and invite anyone who might need a truck for work or family. This isn't just about selling. It's about creating connections. As they entered the house, the familiar creak of the door filled the air. Jack flipped on the light, illuminating the space that felt both comforting and daunting. They had a long way to go, but with Ethan by his side, it felt possible. Let us get to work, Jack declared, already feeling the surge of purpose. We can start by cleaning up the garage. We want everything to look good. Ethan bounded ahead. I'll grab the broom, he shouted as he raced into the back. But just as Jack began gathering his thoughts, A sharp knock at the door interrupted the bustle. It was loud and unnerving. He hesitated for a moment, sharing a glance with Ethan, who looked just as unsure. Who could that be? Jack wondered aloud. With a chill creeping down his spine, he opened the door to find Fred standing there, arms crossed, with an expression colder than the night around them. "I hope you're ready for this," he growled. Jack's heart sank and adrenaline flooded his veins once more. A new storm was brewing, and this time, it felt personal. How far would Fred go to crush their dreams? Jack knew he had to prepare for whatever battle lay ahead. But he couldn't shake the feeling that this time, they would fight together. As Fred's threats hung in the air, a question lingered in Jack's mind. What was he willing to sacrifice for a chance at redemption? The answer felt heavy, but he wouldn't shy away from it, not now, not ever. Jack's heart raced as he locked eyes with Fred, the weight of the unspoken threat thickening the air around them. There was a dangerous glint in Fred's gaze, one that promised more than mere words. Ethan stood just behind Jack, his presence a reminder that everything they fought for wasn't just about the trucks. It was about their future, their family. "What do you want, Fred?" Jack asked, forcing his voice to remain steady despite the turmoil inside. He couldn't let fear overpower him, not now. Fred stepped inside without an invitation, his foot blocking the door. "I want you to understand what you're getting yourself into," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "You think you can just waltz in here, hold some workshop, and rebuild your little empire? Newsflash, Jack, this town isn't ready for you." Ethan shifted beside Jack, uncertainty flashing across his face. Jack squeezed his son's hand tighter. "This town has always been about community, Fred. We're bringing that back, and you can't stop it." Fred laughed, a cold and dry sound that echoed against the walls. "Community? You think a few nice words and glossy flyers are enough? You don't know the lengths I'll go to ensure this fails." Jack swallowed hard, his blood boiling. "Bring it on, Fred. We've faced bigger challenges than you. You might think you intimidate us, but you underestimate our resolve." For a moment, Fred's confident facade cracked, and Jack saw a flicker of uncertainty cross his features. Jack seized the moment. "You want to fight? Let us make it a fair one. You bring the town together, and we'll put it to a vote. They deserve to decide." Fred's eyes narrowed, assessing Jack's proposal. He seemed caught off guard, and for a second, Jack could sense a shifting tide. "A vote?" Fred mused, almost mockingly. "You really believe they'd choose you?" "Yes," Jack said, conviction setting in. "Because this isn't just about me or the trucks, it's about giving people hope when they've forgotten they even need it. If they want a way forward, they'll choose us." Fred's expression darkened, and the air felt charged with an undercurrent of tension. "You're making a mistake, Jack. I'll make sure they regret it." He spat before stepping back, finally leaving the threshold. Jack felt a wave of relief rush over him, but it was quickly followed by doubt. Ethan took a breath, and Jack could see the gears turning in his son's mind. "Dad, do you really think the town will support us?" Jack turned to him, searching for the right words. "Everyone's looking for something to believe in, Ethan. We just have to be the ones to show them it's worth believing." Feeling a newfound sense of urgency, Jack reached for his phone. "Let us post something online. We need to get the word out about our plan. People deserve to know they have options." Ethan nodded with determination, stepping towards the kitchen table where they could set up their makeshift headquarters. "I'll get the social media pages started. We can list the trucks we have and share our story." Jack smiled, watching his son spring into action. There was a powerful energy in the room, one that sparked with each idea they voiced. They would gather support, people willing to stand with them on this journey. But as he sent the first post into the digital world, a nagging thought lingered. Would the community really rally behind them, or would Fred's shadow loom large enough to drown them out? Jack and Ethan worked through the night, fueled by hope and a fierce determination. They polished their message, reshaping their dreams into something tangible, something they could fight for. The first step had been taken, but Jack knew the real battle was just beginning. As dawn cracked on the horizon, a sense of dread tugged at him. What drastic measures would Fred take to undermine their efforts? As the sun rose, illuminating the path ahead, Jack turned to Ethan, whispering, "Let us be ready for anything." The sun streamed through the window as Jack and Ethan sat at the table, their laptops open and coffee mugs steaming. The air was thick with determination, yet an undercurrent of anxiety lingered. They needed this to work. Ethan's fingers flew across the keyboard, tapping out posts that highlighted their plans. Look at this one, Dad. Bringing hope back to our hometown. Join us to vote on our future. Think that LL catch their attention? Jack leaned closer, reading the bright message. Absolutely. It sounds hopeful, like we're rallying everyone to a cause. Let us get some photos of the trucks as well. Ethan nodded, clearly energized. I'll take a quick video. Show the trucks in action. Let people see what we can offer. Ready to give them a taste of what is to come. Just then, Jack's phone pinged a notification. He glanced down, and his heart sank. A post from Fred's camp was already live, spreading rumors that they were unsafe, that the trucks wouldn't pass inspections. They're gonna go on the attack, Jack muttered, anger rising in his chest. Ethan looked up, his brows knitted together. But we've got our facts straight. We can fight back with the proof. Yeah, but Fred knows how to play dirty, Jack said, his voice tight. He wants to shake us, get us rattled. We can't let him. Jack stood, pacing the room, trying to shake off the wave of dread. Let us not just stand here letting him control the narrative. We need to pull together our allies, talk to those we know won't back down. Ethan kept typing, barely looking up. I'll reach out to Miss Carter. She's always been supportive. And what about Tom? He might have some tricks up his sleeve. Jack nodded. Good thinking. We can't fight this alone. If we're going to show the community what we can do, we need unity now more than ever. As they worked, the hours faded quickly. The morning turned to afternoon, and the weight of their task felt heavier. Jack could see how much was at stake. This wasn't just about the trucks. It was about standing up for what they believed in. The phone buzzed again. A comment thread erupted under Fred's post, filled with names Jack recognized. Some were supportive, but others were swayed by Fred's poison. Look at this, he said, pointing to a comment. They think we're just a couple of dreamers. Ethan's face fell. We need to address this directly. They can't believe Fred over us. Then let us rally. We'll set real meetings. Get the people the facts. Let them see everything firsthand. Jack's heart raced at the thought, hope surging once more. But we can't just rely on social media. We need personal connections. We'll take those trucks into town, show every last detail. Let them see who we really are. Ethan's eyes brightened. A truck parade. That could work. The great comeback. Let people see the possibilities, the potential. But then Jack's phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Ms. Carter. I'm in, but trust me, Fred won't sit idly by. You're in for a storm. Jack clenched his jaw but felt a flicker of resolve. Let him come. We have to be ready for whatever he throws at us. The day dragged on, the echo of Fred's laughter still fresh in his mind. But amidst the uncertainty, Jack felt something shift. They were doing this together, fighting for their place in the town that mattered most. He looked at Ethan, watching him transform from simply his son into a partner in this tumultuous journey. As evening settled outside, they finalized their plans. They were ready to step into the unknown. But as they reviewed their strategies, a chilling thought struck. What if Fred had someone inside their circle, someone feeding him information? Jack's heart sank. What if their unity was already compromised? Would they be able to unite the town before it was too late? The next morning broke much like the last, with the sun casting long shadows across the kitchen table where Jack and Ethan had spent so many hours planning. But today brought an air of urgency. The sound of birdsong outside felt sharper, woven with the tension of what was to come. Jack stood in front of the coffee maker, the machine bubbling quietly. His mind raced. Fred's eyes were everywhere, slipping into corners of their community and twisting narratives. Jack poured his coffee, the warm liquid a small comfort against the chill of doubt creeping up his spine. Hey, Dad, Ethan said, peeking over his laptop. Ms. Carter sent the exact locations of the truck inspections. They're public. We can build our defense right from there. Jack felt the corners of his lips turn upward slightly. That's a start. If people see the transparency, maybe they'll be willing to listen. Ethan glanced back at his screen, fingers flying once again. Let us get it out there. We need to counterattack, turn those rumors into real facts. But Jack's thoughts drifted. What if Fred's got a spy? If someone in our group is leaking information, his heart raced again, dread mingling with anger. We can't trust anyone right now. The words hung heavy in the air. Ethan's face mirrored his father's worry, eyebrows furrowing. We'll need to be extra careful. But we can't live afraid, Dad. That's exactly what Fred wants. Right. Jack nodded, clenching his fist around the coffee mug. Then we play it smart. We need to keep our meeting under wraps. Only key people. The last thing we need is for Fred to catch wind of this. They spent hours drafting a precise message, a shield against the misinformation swirling like a storm around them. The clock ticked loudly as they mapped out their truck parade route, a brilliant thread of hope knitting itself through the despair. Each stop would showcase the trucks and the people behind them, showing the collective spirit of their town. Just as they wrapped up their plans, Jack's phone buzzed again, breaking the fragile sense of control they decreated. The message was from Tom, heard whispers. Fred S. looking for dirt on the trucks. He S. watching you closely. Jack's pulse quickened, adrenaline coursing through him. We have to move fast. If he S. already sniffing around. Ethan S. eyes widened. What should we do? Move the parade date up? Catch him off balance? Yes. Jack exclaimed, energized by the idea. Let us do it. A surprise parade. One that will show he can't bully us. They sprang into action, their energy pooling into a single decisive force. Creating crisp flyers, sending out late-night messages, buzz of excitement replacing their earlier dread. The weight of responsibility hung heavy, but Jack could catch glimpses of the flickering hope in Ethan's eyes, the spark of youth and determination that would not be extinguished. As they turned off their laptops, Jack felt a strange mix of pride and fear. They were onto something, creating their own narrative, but they were also being hunted. The call came just as they were stepping out the door. Jack, you need to see this. Ms. Carter's voice rang through the phone, urgency lacing her tone. What is it? Jack asked, already gripped by an uneasy feeling. There's been a leak. Someone shared your plans with Fred. The world around Jack blurred, and for a moment, he couldn't breathe. What? Who? I don't know yet, but we need to act fast. This could turn deadly. Jack glanced at Ethan, his heart racing. We have to protect what we've built. They can't take that away from us. But could they really? As questions and doubts crashed through his mind, Jack wondered what it would take to truly stop Fred. And just like that, as the sun sank beneath the horizon, Jack realized the stakes had become far more than he'd ever anticipated. With their plans compromised and danger closing in, would their fight for a brighter future for their hometown end before it even began? Jack's hands trembled as he hung up the phone, the harsh sound of Ms. Carter's voice echoing in his mind. He felt a wave of panic wash over him, but he quickly pushed it down. Ethan, he said, keeping his voice steady. We need a plan. Ethan's face was a mix of determination and fear. What do you want to do? We can't let Fred intimidate us. Jack nodded, rallying his thoughts. We need to find out who leaked the information. We'll assemble the core group and figure out how to contain this. We can't give Fred a chance to twist the narrative in his favor. Ethan grabbed his jacket, urgency in every move. Let us get the others. They'll want to know. They stepped out, the cool evening air a stark contrast to the warmth of the kitchen. Jack took a deep breath, trying to ground himself as thoughts of betrayal surged through him. Doubt and fear crept in. Who could they trust, really? Driving to the community center felt like they were heading into a storm. The sky had darkened, mirroring the tensions soaring between them. Jack turned to Ethan. This isn't just about the trucks anymore. It's our reputation, our integrity. Ethan clenched his jaw. It's more than that for me, Dad. This is home. These trucks mean jobs. They support families. Fred, doesn't he care about that? He's in this for himself. Jack swallowed hard, realizing the weight resting on their shoulders. They parked and hurried inside, joining the others who were already assembling, each face bearing a mix of anxiety and resolve. All right, listen up, Jack called, trying to command the room despite the trembling in his voice. We've run into some trouble. There's been a leak, and Fred is aware of our plans. The room erupted in whispers, confusion spreading like wildfire. Jack raised a hand for silence. We need to conduct our meeting like never before. We can't show any weakness. The parade is still on. We'll let them see our strength. Are we really going through with it? Sarah, one of the group members, asked, her forehead creased with worry. What if Fred retaliates? Ethan stepped in, his voice steady. If we back down, we lose. Fred can't win this. Not when so many people depend on us. We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for our community. Did they even know how close they were to the edge? Jack felt the weight of every pair of eyes on him. They were looking to him for guidance. He rubbed a hand across his face, feeling the strain of the decisions ahead. I want to let fear dictate our actions. We need to stay united. We've got to expose the truth about the truck inspections to everyone. We can't let them define our narrative. As he said the words, the group started to rally. Jack felt a flicker of hope ignite somewhere deep inside. Let us show Fred that we're unbreakable, Ethan added, his eyes shining with determination. The group shared nods and murmurs of agreement, a palpable energy shifting in the room. Okay, let us divide tasks, Jack said, taking control of the meeting. His heart swelled with pride at the resolve in Ethan's eyes. They mapped out who would print flyers, who would contact media outlets, and who would ensure that the message reached every corner of their town. Suddenly, Jack's phone buzzed again. He looked down to see a chilling message. I know what you're planning. Check your blinds after the meeting. His stomach churned. Someone was watching. After the meeting, Jack locked eyes with Ethan. We're on borrowed time. We need to act fast. Whatever Fred's got planned, we need to stay one step ahead. As they made their way home, a heavy silence fell between them. The glow from porch lights illuminated faces filled with uncertainty. What had they unleashed? Fear lurked in the corners, but so did a fierce determination. Jack's heart raced at the thought of betrayal, the unknown stalking them like a shadow. Would they be able to protect their community from the impending storm? As they stepped inside, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. What if this fight became more personal than anyone could bear? Jack tossed his keys on the kitchen counter, the sound echoing in the silence that enveloped their home. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a stark glare on everything, amplifying the unease settling in his chest. Ethan leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, his expression a mixture of concern and resolve. What do we do now? Ethan's voice was quiet, but it held the weight of countless unspoken questions. First, we need to keep our heads clear, Jack replied, trying to keep the tremor from his voice. We can't let fear cloud our judgment. Fred is playing a dirty game, and we have to be smarter. The tension was palpable. Jack knew every scenario he imagined came with risks, each possibility more dangerous than the last. They were entering murky waters, and he wasn't sure how deep the betrayal ran. We should call the others, Ethan suggested. Maybe they've seen something strange too. We can't just sit here waiting for something to happen. Jack nodded, appreciating his son's urgency. Let us make a plan to meet early tomorrow. The sooner we can figure out who's leaking information and how Fred got hold of it, the better. As they spoke, a chill danced across Jack's skin. He glanced toward the window, instinctively moving to close the blinds. The sensation of being watched gnawed at him, making his heart pound harder. Dad, are you okay? Ethan's voice broke through his thoughts. Just thinking, Jack murmured, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. It's easy to forget that our enemy is closer than we think. Ethan stepped closer, the shadow of doubt crossing his young face. You didn't really think Ms. Carter would turn on us, did you? I mean, she has always been supportive. Forcing himself to meet his son's gaze, Jack felt a wave of guilt. Sometimes, people act out of fear. Maybe she thinks siding with Fred will save her job. The words hung in the air, heavy and ominous. Then we need to show her it's safer to be with us, Ethan replied, his voice stronger now. We want to let Fred win. Not now. The determination in Ethan's eyes sparked something in Jack's fierce pride mixed with fear. They were in this together, no matter the cost. Ringing in Jack's ear was the ominous warning from the text. Check your blinds. He turned back toward the windows, heart racing as he peered through the slits. The street appeared quiet, but the darkness hid too many secrets. What if Fred had planted spies among them? Promise me something, Jack said, glancing back at Ethan, the weight of seriousness heavy in his tone. If anything feels off, we don't risk it. We pull out. I want to lose you, Ethan. Promise, Ethan replied, though uncertainty flickered across his face. Jack took a deep breath and tried to refocus their energies. Let us get some rest tonight. Tomorrow, we'll hit the ground running. As they moved away from the kitchen, Jack felt the familiar stirrings of anxiety building in his chest. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thoughts racing between concern for their community and the unsettling threat from Fred. He couldn't shake the feeling that betrayal wasn't just likely. It was inevitable. Blind to the ticking clock, he finally dozed off, thoughts of loss swirling in his mind. Morning light filtered through the blinds, breaking the darkness that had shrouded them. Jack woke with renewed determination, only to be jolted by Ethan's frantic voice. "Dad, come quick." Rushing to the living room, Jack found his son staring out the window, eyes wide with shock. "What is it?" "Look." Ethan pointed, and Jack moved to the window, heart sinking as he took in the scene outside. A bold red spray painted on the side of the old trucks parked in their yard read, "Liars." They both stared, the words echoing louder than any threat Fred had posed. And Jack knew, without a doubt, that the fight was about to get far more personal than they'd ever imagined. What would their next move be when the entire community could see them for what Fred wanted them to be? The stakes had just been raised. Jack's mind raced as he processed the eruption of chaos unfolding in front of him. The sun illuminated the vibrant spray paint, the word "liars" screaming at them, unyielding and harsh. Anxiety twisted in his gut, and he turned to Ethan, who stood frozen in disbelief. "What do we do?" Ethan asked, his voice strained, a mix of anger and confusion dancing in his tone. Jack felt his heart thumping against his ribcage. Uncertainty clouded his judgment, but he fought to maintain his composure. "First, we need to gather some support. If people see this, they're going to start talking about us, about what Fred is stirring up." His son nodded, fear mingling with determination. "Do you think others will stand with us?" With this, he gestured toward the trucks. "It feels like we've lost already." Jack crouched to meet Ethan's eyes. "No, we haven't lost. This is a wake-up call. We need to confront it head-on. If we show them we're not afraid, maybe others will find the courage to stand with us." Ethan straightened, a flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. "Yeah, if we rally the others, we can confront Fred together." Jack smiled, proud of his son's resilience. Together, they both stepped outside, taking in the wretched sight. The neighborhood looked quiet, the morning sun casting long shadows across the pavement. Most houses were shuttered, but whispers of the spray-painted accusation would spread like wildfire. "We should head over to Ms. Carter first," Jack said, feeling a surge of urgency. "She needs to understand what's happening. If she is still on our side, she can help us rally others she has influence." They walked briskly to Ms. Carter's house, heartbeats echoing in their ears. Jack knocked on her door, the sound hollow in the stillness. "Ms. Carter, it's Jack. We need to talk." Moments felt like hours as they waited. Then the door creaked open. Ms. Carter's face was pale, her eyes red-rimmed as if she hadn't slept. "Jack, what is going on?" Ethan stepped forward, recounting the incident with fervor. "They spray-painted our trucks. Fred is trying to turn everyone against us, and we need your help." Ms. Carter's brows knitted together. "I heard whispers this morning. I was afraid it might escalate. But I didn't know it'd be this serious. I thought Fred would keep this quiet clearly. He's willing to stir up the pot," Jack said, his urgency racing. "We need to unite the community. This isn't just about us anymore. It's about everyone Fred is targeting." For a moment, Ms. Carter seemed to waver, fear flickering across her face. But then something shifted. Resolve replaced her uncertainty. "You're right. If we stand together, we can show Fred he can't control us." Jack felt a wave of relief wash over him. "Let us start a meeting. We need to hit this head-on." As they strategized, Jack couldn't shake the feeling of dread tightening around him. This wouldn't be easy, and Fred wouldn't back down quietly. Back outside, they heard murmurs from neighbors who had gathered, curious about Ms. Carter's home. Jack took a deep breath and stepped onto the porch, determination coursing through him. "Everyone, we need to talk," he called out, his voice steady despite the pounding in his chest. "I know you've seen what happened. It's time we unite against this madness before it tears us apart." Faces turned towards him, a mix of surprise, anger, and a flicker of hope. This was the moment he had been waiting for. But as he scanned the crowd, his heart sank. Among them was someone he hadn't expected to see: Fred's right-hand man, watching with a calculating gaze that sent chills down Jack's spine. With every heartbeat, the stakes escalated. How far would Fred go to silence them? Jack braced himself. It was only just beginning. Jack's heart raced as he stood on the porch, the weight of expectation borne down on him like a lead blanket. The whispers among the crowd grew louder. A tide of confusion and anger swirled in the air. He needed to seize this moment, to rally them together before Fred's poison could take root. "Listen," he called, his voice firm but tinged with urgency. "What you saw on those trucks isn't just a word painted in anger. It's a challenge. Fred wants to divide us, but we're stronger together." Ethan stood beside him, the fire in his eyes intensifying. "This isn't just about proving ourselves. It's about our families, our friends. We have an opportunity to reclaim our narrative." The crowd began to stir. Jack could feel the flickers of determination igniting as murmurs of agreement rippled through them. He locked eyes with Miss Carter, who nodded, her resolve reflected in her gaze. "What do we do next?" Someone from the back shouted, and Jack seized the moment. "We're going to hold a town hall. We'll invite everyone, make it an open forum. Let us show that our community stands for unity, respect, and dignity. We'll share our story and those of the families this impacts." "But what if Fred disrupts it?" countered a voice from the crowd, skepticism weaving through the question. "That's exactly why we need to do it," Jack answered, his pulse quickening. "The loudest voice isn't always the right one. We need to be louder together. If Fred thinks he can intimidate us, let us show him what real strength looks like. We have each other's backs." The atmosphere shifted, leaning toward hope rather than fear. People began to rally around each other, exchanging thoughts and whispers of support. Jack felt a swell in his chest, a sense of purpose rising like a chorus of voices united. "We're going to need everyone's input. Bring your friends, your family, anyone who feels affected by Fred's greed. This is our stand. We fight not just for the trucks, but for each other." Ethan raised his fist, echoing his father. "Let us make sure everyone knows. We're not backing down. We will prevail." The crowd erupted, voices echoing in a crescendo of support, laughter cutting through the tension. They shared ideas, formed committees, and excitement brewed like a fresh pot of coffee, the intoxicating scent of unity fueling their spirits. As they finished strategizing, Jack cast one last glance at the spectacle of support unfolding before him. He could see it together. They could do this. But a chill crept back into his heart as he spotted Fred's right-hand man lingering at the edge of the gathering, looking long and hard at them, waiting like a vulture. That urgency fueled Jack's next thought. "Tomorrow, we'll meet here and discuss final touches. Maybe we should also consider some form of protection. Information is our ally, and we need to watch our backs." Everyone nodded, their faces flushed with newfound determination. "Remember," Jack said, "you're not just standing for us. You're standing for every person who has ever been told they don't belong, who has faced adversity and pushed through. Together, we're a force. Let us make sure everyone knows what is happening, that Fred doesn't scare us into silence." As the neighbors began dispersing, Jack felt Ethan squeeze his arm, the warmth of the gesture grounding him. "We can do this, right, Dad? Together?" Jack smiled, pride swelling in his heart like an overflowing cup. "Absolutely. This is just the beginning, Ethan. We're not just fixing up trucks, we're fixing our community." As they walked home, a sense of determination filled the air, but Jack couldn't ignore the knot of anxiety that twisted in his gut. Would this be enough to counteract Fred's influence? They'd hit a turning point, but the war was far from over. That evening, as he lay awake once more, Jack watched the shadows dance across the ceiling and wondered, what lengths would Fred go to win this fight? He knew one thing for sure. Whatever happened next, they would face it together, as a family, as a community. And that thought wrapped around him, a blanket of strength against the cold night outside. They had hope now, and with it, the power to change their fate. The next day dawned bright yet tense, the sun filtering through the blinds with a warm embrace. As they prepared for the town hall, Jack felt an electric buzz of anticipation. Would the community show up? Would they stand together in defiance of the darkness? When the time came, they stood ready, the room filled with familiar faces and new allies. Jack looked around, seeing the strength in numbers. As they rallied together, he finally knew. They weren't just standing for themselves anymore. They were guardians of hope, and hopes against fear. "Let us do this," he whispered to Ethan, feeling a surge of encouragement in the air. And then, as they took to the podium, Jack spoke not just as a man fighting for a chance, but as a beacon of light reflecting the hearts of everyone in that room. "It's time to reclaim our story." And the crowd surged together, resonating a single heartbeat of unity that echoed far beyond their hometown, leaving an impact that Fred could never take away. The community wasn't just revived, It was reborn. Jack grinned at Ethan, who was beaming. Together, they were ready to write the next chapter. This, he realized, was the true victory, the transformation of their story from adversity to triumph. A legacy his father would be proud of. As they stood together, Jack knew their fight had just begun, but with the community behind them, they were unwavering. They would bridge the gap of fear with hope, and no one could break that bond. Now was the time to unite and impact. And in that moment, he found clarity. This was not just a fight for trucks or money, it was a fight for their very identity. As they prepared to face Fred and his insidious threats, Jack whispered to Ethan, "Let us stand together." And together they did. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about this amazing transformation, because your voice matters. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey. True fans understand the power of saying yes to these calls. Let us empower each other.